Hey guys, it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Sync. So just a quick background on our founder. Ricky Lee is an experienced design strategist. He has designed and architected 4 of the major mobile banking apps in the UK, as well as being part of the founding team of Revolut. So we're obviously here to talk about finance, and specifically, well, what is a bank? If you ask the normal person on the street, they'll say a bank holds my money. You know, they tend to be safe and secure. They offer me services such as loans and mortgages, and they'll offer me payment services such as allowing me to do a bank transfer or giving me a card to pay. On the flip side, what a bank is impossible for normal people to understand. You know, they tend to be very slow at what they do, and they will charge you for absolutely everything. So inherently, they tend to be quite expensive. And historically especially, they've been very difficult to use. Now, 20 years ago in the UK, an evolution started. Nationwide came out and said, here is the first internet banking service. Then Metro came out and said, well, we're going to be open 7 days a week and we'll replace your cards in minutes. But 5 years ago is where the revolution really started with the emergence of fintechs. Companies such as N26 came out with an app-based bank account where you could open it in minutes. Players like Starling said, we'll pay you a small interest for any balance you hold within our platform. And obviously, Revolut came out with their travel card, which lets you spend abroad at the interbank FX rates. But what happened over the last 5 years is you have now a different fintech for each one of these different market segments. And whilst that's good, inherently, they all become too niche. And so this happens for users. Now, I myself have around, I would say, 5 to 7 of these different fintechs. Wouldn't it be so much better if you could have it all in one app, in one place, as one experience? And that's what we offer with Sync. We are the simpler and easier way to manage your money. So what exactly do we do? Well, like everyone else, we'll open an account in minutes. We'll give you a GBP current account, a Euro account, but we also let you open and hold over 30 currencies and trade between them. We obviously offer you our Sync MasterCard in what we believe is our very Apple-esque packaging. And the kicker is you can see all of your finances in one app. We let you connect your accounts from Lloyds, Barclays, NatWest, and American Express, which then basically allows you to manage all your money like never before. So, to date, we have around 37,000 users on our waiting list. We started launching last week to the first of our beta users. We can launch across Europe based on our licenses. So thank you for letting me present to you the future of banking in one app.
You want to start? You want me to start?
Or maybe ladies first.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So you talked about combining different financial services in one app. I didn't. Maybe I missed it, but does it also include investment? Like, are you earning an interest on your savings? Do you have a way to invest your savings?
So we don't. So at the moment we offer you like our Sync accounts, like they are a Revolut account or a Monzo account or whatever. But then you can connect your other accounts, so you can manage them in one place. So you can see your balances and you can make transactions through Sync, but from your like Lloyds or your Barclays. In terms of like saving products or roundup features or like a money box, we don't have that today, but it's on our roadmap for the future for sure.
Okay.
How do you make money?
Well, the standard way is obviously with our interchange. So every time someone uses our card, we make money, we get paid by the schemes. Every time you exchange between different currencies, we earn a small spread. But one of the ways we really see is making money is, like, you know how companies like Revolut, they have this premium model, the metal card, etc. We believe it's time to move away from that sort of model, and we're going towards a tailored banking pay-as-you-go model. So if you don't want our insurance product, don't take it, but pay £1 for this. So for example, we've negotiated cashback deals with, say, Booking.com. So every time you use our card, with Booking.com, you get 4% cashback. And we've got it with other retailers across the UK and Europe. And so maybe for £1 a month, you'll get access to these whole suite of cashback deals where you may earn or save £10 a month.
And if we forecast the kind of scaling of that business
compared
to the main revenue streams from traditional banks, which is lending,
of course,
as a model and margins and all that, how does it compare, and is it as attractive to invest in this company in Sync versus a traditional bank, just basically looking at margins across their revenues?
So good question. So obviously we are where we are today, and this is our current model. That's not to say in a year's time or 2 years' time we don't offer other services such as credit cards or loans or overdraft, where, like you said, the real money kicks in. I guess what you're doing now is you would be investing at the early stage at a valuation that is better than maybe a company who already is earning hundreds of millions in those products.
So just a point of clarification.
Yep.
You are offering a current account,
Yes.
okay? And you are essentially pulling data in from other current accounts to provide one view.
Yep.
Is there anything particular that you're doing in that one view to add value to the customer, or is it just being able to see everything in one place?
It's being able to see everything, but then it's the insights and stuff you get off the back of that, right? So some of the early players like Monzo and others said, we'll be a really great app where you can budget and manage your money, right? But it's only good depending on when you use that card or where you spend on that card, right? Because people still would spend with their HSBC, their American Express, or their BBVA if they're from Spain. So bringing it all together, you now give the person or the individual the chance to really understand, how do I spend my money? How can I manage my money better? What decisions am I making that could be improved to then maybe better my credit score in the future? And I think the kicker is that you have to be able to do that in a way that's digestible. For users, no one likes to look at their bank account. Well, the everyday person doesn't, because it's depressing because you see money going out constantly day by day. But if you can make it in a very beautiful, clear view, it then becomes less of a psychological stressor and more of a way of, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how I can get better, these are the steps I need to take. So it's all about the psychology behind it and making it easy and simple and beautiful, I guess, at the end of the day.
Okay, so your USP is the simpler interface.
Yeah, definitely one of them, yeah.
Okay.
So you're entering in a more and more saturated market. So you have N26, Revolut, Monero. You have like many going out. Also, American Express, Visa. Everybody's going out with different products.
Yeah.
So how do you plan to compete when it comes to for the users, onboarding them? What's your go-to-market?
So the market is saturated to an extent, but if you look at Europe as a whole, like, there's very few fintechs that are European-wide, right?
Yeah.
You have like Revolut's probably the main one. If you look at the UK, we have like just 9 major challenger banks there. You have major banks there, not challenger banks. And you have different banks across each country. So the market isn't saturated in that sense because the number of adoption of users for challenger banks is still in the low 1 or 2% across Europe. The market is there still to be captured. And for us, we don't see ourselves competing against Revolut, TransferWise, Monzo. We see us as a community challenging the major incumbent banks. And that's where we have to go over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We're out of time, but
Thank
give
you.
a round of applause to the team from Sync. Our next finalist up, you've seen him already. It's the man in the blazer that we probably all want. Can we give a warm welcome to the team from Pink?
It's a great bag.
Love that.
Well, pink shift too.
Way to stand out.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here again to pitch on this stage. And thank you, if you've heard it yesterday, thank you again for coming back to hear a little bit more. And I wanted to start off by telling you a bit about my co-founder, Seth, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. He recently exited a business back in 2017 called Scout 7. And that business used crowd wisdom and experts in-house to make investment decisions for football players, for the world's biggest clubs. It was a SaaS product. So when he exited that business, he took all of his time and money and he focused it on Pink, which uses crowd wisdom, AI, and experts in-house to make investment decisions for everyday people. Because for everyday people, the odds are truly stacked against you. 76%, that's 76% of Western millennials are financially literate, which means $1.4 trillion a year is invested badly, or what's worse, not invested at all. Now, this is going to become a colossal generational issue, and it's actually something that we really, really need to focus on and we need to fix. So our solution to it is to democratize and gamify the investment process, to work together as a global team to drive one investment fund that benefits everybody who participates. We have 9,500 users in our community currently, and they give us investment opportunities and advice and predictions, and that drives our crowd wisdom system. That data feeds our AI, and our AI looks through the crowd to see who they should bet with and who should bet against. Then in-house we have our experts, and if all three agree, our in-house experts and the crowd and the AI, then we make a trade. And the results of that trade we share with everybody. Now, since we've been going, since February of this year, we've been 70.58% accurate. So our users have influence over a fund without the full weight and bearing of responsibility over making an individual investment decision. That's driven a 9.5% return in the last 4 months alone, and we're using this for the $4.5 trillion millennial investment market. And we're most focused on the $221 billion that come from 28 to 45-year-olds, more entrepreneurial mindset. Now, the way that we make money is we charge 0.012% of assets under management, and we get that through three sources: through our B2C app, through working through partners and challenger banks to provide a different solution for them, as well as doing data sales. Our Rockstar team has built systems for JP Morgan and Barclays, as well as Google and Unilever, and we've been named by Business Insider as a top 12 fintech to watch. And our engagement rates across social are 10 times higher than that of our nearest fintech competitor, people like Revolut, for example. And on top of that, we're supported by the UK's largest banks. So we're creating a new category of fintech and investing, where it's social investing 2.0, providing consistently high returns for the long term for everybody. That's Pink. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Can you say more about what kind of solution you're offering for the challenger banks?
Sure.
And whether you've done any data sales yet?
Well, I mean, as Amar alluded to, in the challenger bank arena, there is a huge amount of competitors. There's 150 challenger banks in the UK alone. So they are all competing to gain market traction. Now, people like Revolut have already added in options investment options through their app. So it's just a one-click straight and you're invested. What we're trying to offer is a high-return savings account for these challenger banks as well. Now, it depends on regulations, of course, but we've got a couple of conversations happening with a large UK business bank account, challenger bank, as well as a B2C one as well.
In selecting what you present to your community in terms of investment assets, how do you select it going forward? Who decides what options you provide for the community?
So best example of that is how we did our initial ETF structure. So we went out and looked at the market, we looked at our competitors, and we looked at what ETFs are available. We then presented that to the crowd and said, look, how do you feel about these? How do you feel about the opportunity of investing into nuclear or investing into renewables, for example? And now overwhelmingly our crowd goes towards renewables. They go away from weapons and they go away from bad, things that are not good for the world. But on every decision, we always ask our community, and so they have total control without that overbearing responsibility.
But then the supply is so massive. I mean, so on the macro level, we understand industry-wise, but down to the individual security, how does that get decided? Because you might miss out on some opportunities.
No, of course. So the first stage is our internal experts. They go out. So, for example, Maria, who's on our team, she's designed ETFs for BlackRock for the last 9 years. Mark Borwick, similar job over at UBS, and they have a really good insight on the industry as a whole. So they look at all the other opportunities to see what we have, and then we go out. And if the community as a whole, every part of the system agrees, then we'll go with it.
So Do you have data supporting that, this like crowd-based, investment model is better than just regular investment managers? And my second question is, okay, so once the crowd makes the investment decision and the investment team disagrees with it, is there like a set protocol there? Like, will they simply discard it, and like how would the crowd know if they're being listened to?
So it's a very good question. The second one there was about the investment committee. So essentially, all three need to align in order to make an investment. So it's not that anybody gets disregard. It's more about all three are saying, okay, this asset's going to go in this direction. Let's make a trade, and that's when we do so. The first question, forgive me, I couldn't remember the...
No, if you have data to back
data, yes,
that it actually works.
So obviously there's our own data internally that supports what we're doing, but in terms of external data, crowd wisdom's used in a number of different areas. So the best project out there is the Good Judgment Project, which is used by IARPA, the US intelligence agency, to predict on how world events as well as economic events are going to happen. Now they use that to trade with on the US Treasury, but equally they use it to predict world events, and that project's been going now for about 15 years.
Okay.
And what are the results in terms of accuracy of wisdom of the crowds in world events? Unexpected ones,
extremely
especially.
Accurate. So the average...
So even with the Black Swan events?
Sorry?
Even with the Black Swan events?
Yeah, so with financial models, there's less data to focus on. But from our own examples, if you take the Black Swan events in Bitcoin, so...
Let's take Black Swan events in 2008, mortgage crisis crash, for example.
Well, that's a difficult thing because I don't have the exact data to hand, but I can point you towards the Pennsylvania research papers that looked at crowd wisdom over 2007 to 2013. They were able to create a pack of super forecasters that were able to forecast that with a 75% accuracy.
75% accuracy, okay.
They knew it was coming along the way on.
One really quick question on you. So after the data is fed to the AI creates unbiased opinion. How do you create an unbiased opinion in this case? That's a...
Apologies, I got off over time, but just very, very quickly. Essentially, everybody has a biased opinion in the world.
So including the guys who are building the models for the AI?
Correct. So the AI is built not to take any kind of bias from the building of the system. It purely looks at the data it's ingested. So the way that we balance an unbiased system is to work across 160 different countries, and that's where our users are based, out of our user base right now. So we try and get a diverse opinion in as much as possible, and the biases cancel each other out, and that is the beauty of crowd wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice round of applause for the team from Pink. Next up, you're lucky enough for the third time to see the slides from the team from AmpNet. Let's give them a round of applause.
Good day, everyone. So they promised to mess up my slides today also, but obviously promises not kept. Okay, let's talk about death and utility death spirals. So I don't know if any of you have solar panels on your roofs or have invested into wind, but every time you move away from your electric utility into self-production, they start losing major money. They still have all of their assets, but less customers. This makes their electricity more expensive, which incentivizes even more people to move away from their utility, which makes their electricity even more expensive, which creates a feedback loop called the utility death spiral. And this is the solution. If you want to get out of production of fossil fuel and into renewables, being a part of an energy community is your best solution. Look at energy communities in Germany from 2006 to 2014. That's more than 10 times growth in just a few short years. And it's not just Germany, it's basically everywhere. So you have energy communities all around Europe, all around the United States, all around the world, but most prominent markets, Europe and the United States. Big problems with energy communities. Super slow to onboard people. 5 days just to get in. To make anything happen, when you try to get in, 10 days minimum. For a digital age, this doesn't cut it. Once you're in, you sign contracts for everything. Want to invest, sign a contract, send it by mail. Want to divest, sign a contract, send it by mail. Want to move your membership into a different position in the cooperative, sign a contract, send it by mail. Again, in a digital economy, this doesn't cut it. And there is 3,000 energy communities just in the European Union, and each and every one of them works as an isolated island. They cannot compete if they are not connected, and currently they are not connected. This is why we built AmpNet, which is a platform that makes running energy communities simple and efficient. So what do? We onboard our customers in minutes instead of days using facial recognition, ID scanning, and digital KYC AML procedures. We enable them to crowd invest into renewable energy sources with just the click of a button through our web applications and mobile apps. We enable them to sell electricity to their customers, issue bills, track how much production there is, how much consumption there is, and optimize their data flows. And we connect them with each other through our connected blockchain platform. If all the energy communities in the European Union joined now, they would be the biggest electricity producer in the entire Europe. We're working on a huge market. In the European Union, 3,000 energy communities, America's electric cooperatives in the US, $50 billion a year market. We have great traction, including an exclusive crowd investing deal with Greenpeace, one of the world's biggest organizations who will be using us exclusively to fund their projects. This is a bit of our branding with Greenpeace. We have raised 2 rounds, and we are looking for a scaling round now to take our product worldwide. Thank you, and sorry for the...
I'm curious about this space here. Is it the reason for these communities to exist is because the incumbent infrastructure has not yet been upgraded with renewable assets, wind, solar? Is that the reason why we're relying on co-op model for renewable energy right now?
Basically, yes. So all the legacy utility providers, they already built their infrastructure. And the built infrastructure has a cost. A lot of this cost is in, it was either built through loans, which now have interest payments, either it's still operational, so they have operational costs for, let's say, coal, which is now super expensive compared to wind and solar. So what RWE, we always use them as a case study because they got really piled with this transition to renewable energy. What happened there? They had to move away. Their entire fossil division was removed into a separate company, just so they could present a profit on the books. So you could see their share price. Like in 2007, it was 100 euros, now it's 25 euros. So they're technically profitable, but all of their assets had to be removed. So co-ops, they start fresh. They have zero liabilities and costs, yeah.
Yeah, so energy has always been an asset financing business,
Yes.
exactly as you described,
Yes.
and restructuring those assets to reflect a more positive picture is, again, industry practice. So then what happens when these newly restructured companies are investing very big in renewables? Does that take away from your target market? So they are building up capacity slowly, not as fast as the co-ops, but...
Yes, so it definitely does take away from the market. And this will never be a winner-take-all market. So, electricity is one of the biggest markets in the world. We don't like to say these numbers because they sound ridiculous, like in the trillions of dollars annually. But energy communities will never be more than, I assume, a quarter of the market. So they're a very growing new model for renewable energy, but they're basically focused on higher education, higher wealth individuals who have disposable income to invest and make money through renewable energy projects. It's definitely 2/3 of the world, even in 50 years, will be using the standard model, but with such a large market, there is huge potential here to make this happen. And one additional thing, we have charts from the America's Electric Cooperatives, which show that in terms of revenue growth and customer base growth, including kilowatt hours sold, energy communities have been outperforming classic electrical utilities for the past 10 years. So this could be because they're smaller, more agile, but it shows a clear trend of them basically for the foreseeable future outperforming the classical electric utilities.
From the investor perspective, who are they? Do they have to be accredited? And is there a minimum that they have to invest? And also, what kind of returns can they expect to get? Like, what's the incentive for somebody to invest in this?
Okay, so the investors don't have to be accredited. So the legal form of investments in energy communities is mostly through the co-op model. So the investors are also the members of a co-op, and as such are allowed to invest as long as the co-op is producing a social benefit to the community, which it is through investing into renewable energy. There's also some cool tax exemptions with the co-op model, so it's a very, very fit legal model for this. The returns can vary from 7 to 12%, but with the assumption that the underlying asset is depreciating in value. So we are talking not as a cumulative investment, but that you get maybe, I don't know, so your investment would be paid off in 6 to 7 years. The life cycle of the project is around 25 years, with taking into account the growth in technology, so your returns will be a bit diminishing, but you can expect within 25 years to have maybe a 5x full return, 3 to 5x full return on everything. And one thing we always tell, it's less than the stock market, but it's super stable. So electricity rarely has big recessions and bumps because electricity consumption is more or less, flatline, actually growing all the time.
Does your software only touch essentially the investment part of the co-op operation, or are you touching, customer service and billing and power production and distribution and all of those things?
Yeah, we see ourselves as a full service provider in the regard that our platform is made up of 3 distinct parts. It's 3 distinct because we want to be able to segment them to different parts of the market in a way that they need it. So the first part is the crowd investing platform, which is basically every energy community needs that. So there is a subset of energy communities which are registered as electric utilities. They will also be in need of our billing, customer acquisition, CRM platform. And then there is the electricity exchange interface platform, which is for energy communities. When they have excess electricity, they can sell it, and when they are lacking electricity, they can buy it, all through regulated electricity exchanges without the hassle of working with their legacy systems. It's just a software interface towards already existing exchanges.
Okay, thank you very much. We're out of time, but a huge round of applause. And now for our final finalist, let's welcome to the stage the team from Arcane.
Did you know that 10% of the global GDP will be on blockchain network by 2027? This has been reported by the World Economic Forum. My name is Tim Dirksens, and I'm going to tell you why blockchain means business. Deloitte conducted a survey with 1,500 industry leaders, and 83% of them have a compelling use case for blockchain. Half of them have made a priority for it in 2019. Yet 2/3 don't have the in-house knowledge to leverage the technology. This is where we come in. Arcane solves the pain to build with blockchain. It's just like how PayPal gave enterprises easy access to payments, Arcane gives enterprises easy access to blockchain. Enterprises choose us because we give them a full-stack platform, a complete plug-and-play solution. We give them APIs, software as a service, and enterprise-grade support and security. When we're talking about use cases, we're talking about the registration of data or assets on a blockchain network because the network proves ownership and gives you transparency, trust, and immutability. And this is good for trading. You can find these use cases in gaming, in fintech, in health, and in IoT. And we've calculated the market size for each. When we're talking about gaming, we're talking about the in-game asset market. The total addressable market for in-game assets is 50 billion. We've calculated the obtainable market for us to be close to 100 million, and a little bit more. We've done the same for payments and the same for IoT. Our business model is incredibly easy to understand. We charge enterprises a one-time setup fee and a monthly fixed fee per user. If the enterprises use our marketplace-based solutions, we also charge a percentage of the transaction fee to the consumer. Arcane is already battle-tested every day. We started out with 12 beta and now have 4 paying clients. In our B2C network, we have more than 10,000 active users. This means we're already securing more than 1 million euros in digital assets and have processed more than 5 million euros in transactions in over 91 countries through a blockchain network. Consumers get the best user experience while we give the enterprise the tools they need to grow their user base with our viral marketing, out-of-the-box marketplace, and our referral systems. The platform is already developed. We bootstrapped it for the past year and a half. We're raising for growth and for sales and to optimize it per industry. Our financial forecast is growing healthily, but to reach our milestones, we need your help. And we expect to be profitable within the next 3 years. Arcane is founded by a team of 5. We've been working together for more than 5 years and have 60+ years of experience in business and IT. We are raising 2 to 2.5 million euro in seed, not to develop the platform, but to optimize it for gaming, for fintech, and for IoT. The good news is we already have a lead developer that has done their due diligence, 1.2 million euro in hard commitments, 1 million already in soft committed, and we are looking for the best partners to join our round. My name is Tim Dirksens, co-founder of Arcane Network, and we are the next unicorn.
So, can you walk us through a use case? What kind of a corporate, not in the gaming industry, but in the IoT and the fintech, what kind of use cases are allowed or enabled by your solution to someone coming from that industry? Like very specific.
If you look at, for example, one of our clients, CoinStats, CoinStats, right now they are a cryptocurrency portfolio tracker, so that's read-only. They enable us so that they have a own blockchain wallet within their application. The next step for them is to do in-app payments and trading through the blockchain network. They already have 1 million plus users tracking cryptocurrency through their portfolio, and through us, they can actually make their application actionable. So that's one example. Another example is, for example, an investment platform. If you're going to tokenize that, you can use our solutions to do that as well.
What about traditional industry? Non-crypto, non-digital assets?
Well, traditional industry. I'm talking, for example, I'm from Belgium, so I'm talking to the diamond sector. And right now, how they're actually putting the information of how to make a diamond legitimate. It's 2 parties that can do that. But it's a very archaic process, and the first time a diamond comes into the market and is a legitimate diamond, it takes 10 days before that entity can actually make that a legitimate diamond. If you can put that on blockchain network, then a public blockchain, that registration platform is actually making it possible to make that a public registry available for the entire world to see. So
is your business to build private blockchains for different businesses, or?
No. So we support the public blockchains.
Okay.
So Eternity is one of the blockchains that we support as well. And we make it available to the enterprises by being a communication layer in between. So really helping out in the interfacing around that. We have like wallet solutions in place as well. And the end user, they don't need to have any blockchain knowledge to actually access something that is blockchain based.
Okay.
So actually, it is making blockchain as accessible as normal software products is today.
Okay, so enabling enterprises to use public blockchains rather than private ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
I have a few sort of clarifying questions. The first one is, do you consider yourself a development environment or a deployment environment or both?
So, not really like a deployment environment. We have a development portal, so everything is, we give developers documentation, easy to read, easy to use. And we also have give them a demo environment. And depending on which blockchain, we host the nodes for the enterprises. But sometimes if you're like using Ethereum, you already have those services available. So then we'll be using those services and making sure that they are available to the enterprise as well.
Okay. Then my next question is, who inside of your, the companies which are your customers, who is your actual customer? Who's the buyer? Who's the decision maker?
So a lot of times, right now, we're looking at tech founders and CTOs. And sometimes, if you're looking at major corporations like D&B Global, for example, it's the digital innovators. So those in charge of digital innovation.
Okay. And pick a 10,000 person company. How many seats, right? What does your sale look like to them?
So, what do you mean, how many seats?
I'm trying to understand, right? Your enterprise development environment, essentially, is what I now have heard you say.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand what the average revenue per customer might look like.
Well, if you're looking at the enterprises, then we're going to have a different value proposition than we have for startups. So then we're looking at, for example, 5K or 10K setup fee. And then also where we can say, if we're looking at wallets as a service, that specific function, we're looking at $1 or $2 per wallet. And okay. This is per user that they have. So if you look at, for example, Panini, they're doing digital collectibles, they have millions of users. Well, then you start out with the number of users that they have, and then gradually decline with the number of units, the price per number of units.
I wanted to clarify on that. So in your business model, you have the setup fee, and you're saying after they're using your solution, you have an ongoing fee as a percentage basis of the revenues or number of users?
Not revenues, so number of wallets that we give them. So, for example, Xerox is one of the Games is one of the game developers that we have, and they're targeting gamers. So for each gamer that has to have a blockchain wallet, we charge them a fee per wallet. Okay. But we batch that, of course, so it's not like one fee per wallet. So per every 1,000 wallets that they generate, they come up in price in terms of monthly revenue that we generate.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Let's have a round of applause.